Welcome into another edition of the Holton Caiden Show. On the other side of the break, ECU women's basketball coach Kim McNeill, ahead of the season, joins the show. Hope you enjoy it. If not, as always,
that's too damn bad.
Holton Caiden turns, and Holton will take off and run himself. He's at the 40-yard line. Holton Caiden's to the 30. Look at him go! 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Pirates!
There's local politics, bud.
It's showtime!
And now let's welcome in East Carolina women's basketball coach Kim McNeill. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
So when we first started this, it was like all football, and then we noticed like our crowd was like, get women's sports, get other sports in there. So you're our first like women's sport coach that we've had in.
I'm honored.
We're excited to have you. You've been crushing it the last couple of years and looking forward to another big women's basketball season.
Yeah, I'm super proud of where we've come since 2019 when I first got here. You know, it wasn't easy, but the last 2 years have been great, and just trying to get Pirate Nation behind us.
I feel like you have done a really good job. We were just talking off air about like getting in the community and like your kids in the community and stuff, and like that is a very underrated trait from someone from here and has played here. Like head coaches being in the community, just being seen, and you've done a really good job of that. Is that something that's been very intentional, or is that something that just as a person, that's kind of who you are?
I think that's just who I am. I'm extremely proud to be the head women's basketball coach here, first and foremost. But I think as athletes, we're blessed, and I tell my girls all the time, regardless if you want to be or not, you are a role model.
Yeah.
You're a role model for girls, boys, like older women, older men. And, I just want to give back to the community, and I want them to be appreciative of everything they get every single day.
Okay.
It's such an awesome community, and you guys had, like I mentioned a second ago, had such a great run the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. What's one thing that, driving your success, the last 2 years? Last year you had a chance to make the tournament and that conference championship game, but what's driving that success to the back-to-back seasons, or run in the tournament?
I think there's a couple of things. I think first and foremost, the way we play is pretty unique. And so I'm very big on having an identity and our players understanding like how we're going to win games. So at the end of the day, like we're going to defend. Defense is a big thing. We play a matchup that, if you've only played us one time, you have a really hard time learning how to prepare for it. We press, we play some man. So defensively, we're pretty hard to get prepared for. And then second thing, I just think the culture that we've been able to establish here, very much family oriented, definitely getting out into the community. I'm a ultra competitor, but at the end of the day, it's more than just about basketball for me, and my players know that. We spend a lot of time with each other outside of the court. I spend a lot of time getting to know them, so they understand the expectations and the standards that we have set for the program.
You talk about scheme, like where did you first inherit that defensive scheme that you run now? Yeah,
because as a player, that wasn't me. No, like, I was a scorer. I love to shoot the ball. I think probably my senior year when I was at Richmond, I had an assistant coach that really, taught me the angles on how to play defense, and I really truly loved to learn to love to play defense. Probably my senior year in college, but then just as I was an assistant coach and just working for Andy Landers, Joanne Boyd, Kenny Brooks, I've have some unbelievable mentors, but I learned along the way that defense is always something you can control. Like, it's all about playing hard. Offense, for basketball, some days you go out there and you shoot, and for me as a player, like, it felt really good coming off my hands, but it just wasn't my day. Like, I couldn't control it. But defense travels, rebounding travels, passion travels, energy travels. So I just feel like that's always something you can control.
Well, me and Holton can both relate. Neither of us could shoot that well.
I can't shoot at all.
He's Shaq at the free throw line.
Oh goodness.
I played my freshman sophomore year of basketball, and my freshman year I was like 0 for 21 shooting free throws. I tried everything.
Okay.
I tried. I just literally couldn't shoot. So now all my friends know it, and they always joke on me. I'm like, I tried my best. So I was a good rebounder though.
I need that.
I don't think we've ever felt what it felt like to feel good to come off the fingertips. But I totally get what you mean. Defense in the same way. It's like so many sports. It's something you can control, and the one thing to win games is execute what you can control the most. Yep. And that's super exciting. I got to ask you, this is probably the biggest time for women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, I'll be honest with you, I'd never followed women's basketball until about 2 years ago, that senior, junior year. I think the junior year is where I really kind of got excited. What's one thing that you're seeing? What are you excited about, the most about women's basketball on the rise? And then two, what's an area that women's basketball you think can grow the most in?
Yeah, the growth is just the exposure that we're getting. And I do think Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Dawn Staley has really put women's basketball on a map. And I'm a huge fan of Dawn Staley. Obviously, she came here last year and played us. And we've got to go back there this year. They're definitely going to be, up in the ranks for winning another national championship. But for her to come to bring her team to Greenville, that's big. That's awesome. She'll go anywhere. She just wants to grow the game, and I want to grow the game too. But the exposure that we're getting, you turn on ESPN today at 1 o'clock, there's a women's basketball game on, 5 or 6 years ago that wasn't happening, so we're definitely starting to get more exposure. We got to continue to get that exposure, I think, at the professional level. We're getting 2 more expansion teams this year for WNBA, but I think we need more because our women need more opportunities to be able to stay in the States and not have to go overseas and go to another country to play. Like we want to stay here. We want to play in front of our people. So I think that's where the growth has to go, is life after college basketball, having more opportunities in the States.
Yeah.
Do you think, you probably haven't noticed it in recruiting yet, but the Caitlin Clark effect of just jacking up threes, do you think like years from now, like that really will be a thing with like kids coming up who watched her and are now trying to be her?
And not only her, but Steph Curry too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I get on my kids every day because they just want to walk in the gym and, just shoot threes. I'm like, I'm old school. So when you walk in the gym, I want you form shooting 2 feet away from the basket, continue to work on your form, work your way out. Because that's what I was, a shooter, and my shot, I'm patting myself on the back. I think I'm the best shooter amongst my team players too. I'll beat them all in any game of horse, but it's just really working on those fundamentals where today the kids just want to come in there and they just want to jack threes, and they want to be able to get to the basket. The mid-range game is pretty non-existent in the game. I think mid-range is extremely important, but yeah, we're starting to see some effects that where kids are just want to walk in the gym and just shoot threes.
I have to agree. I think Steph Curry. I remember growing up when Steph really hit the rise because everyone wanted to be Steph Curry.
He started it.
Jacking it up. And then that's probably where, I don't know where she found it from. I'm just going to guess. But that's probably part of it. Girls, guys growing up, they're like seeing something like that. I want to be that person, kind of like in sports. I totally forgot where I was going. You can go ahead.
We were talking off air before Caiden got here about the NIL and transfer portal, and I asked, because I'm not up to date fully on like women's basketball and that side of things. Just talk about that a little bit, because I was surprised that you were saying that some of these girls are getting like $200K at places. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's when you get to that Power 4 level, I mean, some of these young women are making a lot of money. Anywhere from $75,000 to $100K, some $200 in houses. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's we're not in the millions yet as some men's basketball players are or some football players, but it's a lot of money being given. And I'm not just saying $75,000 for the 4 years. I'm talking about $75,000 to a year. So you're talking about maybe $400,000 by the time they graduate from college.
Wow, that I did not know. I knew it was probably like some of the big stars, but I didn't know a lot of Power 4s were moving that way, especially in women's sports. And I think people overlook that sometimes in NIL. It's just, that's what it has been over the last few years, is everyone wants to focus on the men's basketball, football, even baseball sometimes. So that's good to hear that women are also getting that same opportunity that men's are. But how can you grow that? That's the biggest thing.
We were talking earlier too, official visits are now like, okay, let me get on campus, meet the team, meet the coaches, walk through, the campus, and let's sit down and talk money, and I'm ready to go home.
And that's even with high schoolers?
Yeah, high school kids now are you talking about juniors and seniors. Like, the parents want to know, like, how much money is my kid going to make?
So you mentioned that's here at ECU as well?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's crazy.
See, when you mentioned, I was about to ask that. I was about to go right to it. You mentioned Power 4. I was about to say, how is the G5 or basketball is a lot more schools than G5.
And it's definitely at a different level there. Like at ECU, we don't have that kind of money. So we're not giving out $75,000, $100,000. Like we don't.
Hopefully one day we will.
It would be nice. It really would, but we're just not there yet.
Wow, that NIL blows me away, and just football alone blew me away, and then hearing that blows me away as well.
Well, I remember, dude, in college, like, because I was telling her, like, my first year was NIL, where like we didn't really have the collective. It was like genuinely like if a business wanted to give you money for like give me money for commercial. Like I thought, like I remember getting like $1,000 to do a commercial, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I'm investing this away, and I'm like genuinely thankful. Like I put money away, all my NIL money, I invested it, or for the most part. And even that now, I'm like, wow, like that kind of helped me with a down payment of a house and stuff. Like I couldn't imagine $75,000 a year. Like
the way you did it was the way it was intended.
That's what NIL is.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
But now it's like, I was talking to some of my mentors in the game, and we were talking this summer, and they were like, I brought in a freshman, paid her $75,000, and she sat the bench, and I had a kid on the floor playing that was getting nothing. Wow. So it's like you're paying these kids all this money before they even touch the floor. You don't know if they're going to pan out, but the way you did it, that's what NIL was supposed to be. If you want to do a commercial, if your jersey's in the bookstore, or if you're on a billboard, like that's what it was supposed to be. But it totally ran and went in a different direction.
Surprised the NCAA messed something up there.
Tell me about it.
Sound like a conversation me and you had yesterday about playing people, and then some people not making no money playing.
Yeah, that's the world of college athletics now. And then the transfer portal in general, minus NIL, like how big of an impact has that made? Like, because obviously you coached before that, you were head coach before that, to transfer portal now. Like, how big of an impact has that in general made?
Oh, I definitely think it's made a huge impact, because before kids would think before they would go, because I don't want to sit out. I'll find my way. But now it's gotten to the point now where you can transfer every single year. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm watching kids play, and I'm like, this is like her fourth school, her third school, And a lot of times it's a red flag. Like, if a kid's going on her third school, like something's not right normally, But, we've been pretty fortunate that I've only lost 2 key players to the portal.
Yep.
That was my first year when they gave, the seniors a year back for COVID. And then the year after, I lost a kid. But I've been able to keep my best kids in place. I don't know a lot of teams in the country that have been able to say that.
I mean, you got a good culture.
Yeah. And
really,
that's what it boils down to, my culture,
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. I think some of my favorite memories was like a coach that actually cared.
Yeah.
The coach that actually, outside of practice, hey, how are you doing? How's your mom doing? How's your dad doing? And I was a walk-on. I was a preferred walk-on. And so I remember, Scotty Montgomery gets a really bad rep here, but I say that all the time. But he was one of those coaches that just genuinely cared about his players. And for me, someone's like, oh, okay. Now, as a walk-on, and especially football, there's 100 people.
I know.
I
don't know how they do it.
And for someone to care that much, it goes a long way. So hearing that you haven't lost anyone, that means you really put time out for your players. That's awesome to hear. One question I had for you, kind of going towards the season and being, a head coach for a number of years and being successful for a number of years. Basketball reminds you a lot of baseball. It's a long season. Ugh. How do you keep your players locked in, and how do you get through, how do you keep the hot streaks, and how do you get out of those cold streaks since it's such a long season?
Yeah, it is. It's one of the longest seasons in, college athletics. And they, especially freshmen, they start to hit that wall, normally around December, right before Christmas break. Mm-hmm. They'll start to hit that wall. But, I try to break it down into seasons. So, you got your preseason, for almost like 4 quarters. Mm-hmm. You got your preseason, then we got non-conference, then we got conference, then we got tournament. So I try to break it up into 4 quarters, and we do a lot of different stuff together as a team. We'll still, like, when we go out on the road, let's say we go play Memphis, we'll go and eat at a barbecue spot in Memphis to try,
cool.
Try to do different stuff together. We, still do team activities. The other night, Memphis played South Carolina in like an exhibition type thing. So the whole team came over to the house. We had wings,
that's
fries.
Awesome.
We just try to do different things to break it up. But it's a very, very long season, and we only really get one break, and that's Christmas. Because for Thanksgiving, we'll be somewhere playing, and I try to give them 5 days for Christmas. But it is a long season, and sometimes you can see kids starting to hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something, like you talked about visiting places, like going to Memphis and you doing that? Is that something that, because football, I remember like in college, we never got to leave the hotel. You get there the day before.
Too many of you guys.
Yeah, and then there's people you probably can't trust, and you can't be with everyone.
Yeah.
But and then I remember going to like the pros, and when I was in the NFL, and it's like, all right, curfew's 2 a.m. and it's the night before the game, and I'm like, what are we like? I thought this was the opposite. I thought it got more strict the higher up you got. Is that something where like it is such a long season? You're like, okay, we got to do something when we get to these cities outside of just basketball when we get there. Is that kind of part of it?
It is. Like, we're going to Vegas for Thanksgiving, so yeah. So I'm going to try to find a show that we can go see. Obviously, we'll have Thanksgiving dinner there, so we'll try to find a place that has something really, really nice. But when we're on a road like Vegas, like we may do stuff like as a unit, and like this coach might take this group, but I'm not gonna let them go out on their own.
Yeah.
Like, that's too dangerous. But we do have curfews. 11 o'clock. They're not allowed. Let's say if we're going to USF, like they're not allowed to leave the hotel unless I know. If a parent comes, they can sit down in the lobby, things of that nature. So they're not like just out and going, but we do try to find things to do with them as a team and as a unit.
Even, I'm sure camaraderie wise, that's huge.
Yes,
it is. Being in, like, our bowl game even, like, was, like, the first time we were, like, able to, like, go do things, like, with the team outside of, like, the hotel in another city. And even just that, it's, like, you get experience and see things. 'Cause you're kids, really, when you're in college. And, like, seeing new things for the first time, traveling for free, you think at least. Someone's paying for it. You ain't paying for it, though.
Right.
You're talking about culture, though, and you were talking about the visits and stuff like that. How hard is it now to get a sense of, like, a transfer? I want to focus on the transfer side because it's really college athletics is a lot of transfers now. It's like, how hard is it to get a sense of, like, will this kid fit my culture when you were just saying, like, at the end of the meeting, they're like, how much money am I getting?
Yeah.
Like, how hard is it for that?
So for us recruiting wise, like I really emphasize to my staff, like I want to recruit high school kids, and not all college coaches feel that way.
Yeah.
Like they want, the 2-year kid that has the experience. But like this year we had 5 scholarships and I've already signed 4 high school kids.
Dang. Wow. I love that.
So for me, like I want to try to, so we have 2 signing periods in November and then we have a late signing period in April. Like I want to try to cover everything I need in November with freshmen. I just feel like that's how you build a program. Like I just do, And so we have 1 scholarship left and there's some holes we need to fill. That's when we'll go to the portal.
Yep.
And more times than none, like I've got maybe 5 kids on my team from the transfer portal. And there's only 1 kid that we didn't have some type of a previous relationship with.
Dang. Wow. That's awesome.
So, like, I have my 2 twins from Florida. Like, I recruited the heck out of them out of high school. I have a kid from Georgia that I recruited her out of high school. I have a kid from UCF that one of my previous coaches has coached her. So, somebody has some form of a connection and knows what type of player, what type of kid we're getting.
Yeah. And that's something like, obviously, with Coach Houston being fired, like the next head coach here for football, and that's something that we're really big on is like we want a coach that can just says, okay, we're going to recruit North Carolina and get high school kids and just develop them.
Yeah.
And because it's so hard to build a culture if you don't have that from just experience, like getting a lot of transfers. I know that's like the big thing in college football now. Like some of these teams have like 70 transfers on their team.
Crazy.
It's like, how do you ever build a culture? And they're like, we don't. We just, the next year you just bring in 70 more guys.
And you hope they gel.
Yeah. So it's just crazy to think that like that's where college athletics has came now.
It's crazy. Like it's crazy and it's not fun.
I'd
it's
imagine.
not as fun. A coach like me who's really big on relationships and developing young women and helping them with life after basketball. Like there's not a lot of young females or young athletes in general that's important to them anymore.
Yep.
It's about how much money am I getting, like things of that nature. And so it's definitely different. I'll tell you this: if I was just getting into coaching, I don't know how long. I don't think I would last 26 years.
Yeah, wow. That's why I didn't get into it. I told you that off air. That's why I didn't.
Yeah.
Coach Houston asked me, and I was like, "Dude, I'm good. I'm not gonna sit there and tell an 18-year-old how much money he's gonna get. Someone else can do that. I'm not doing that."
I think it's a big reason you're gonna see in the next few years. If something doesn't change, a lot of good coaches might just.
Oh, you've already seen it.
Yeah, I
know.
You're already seeing
more
it.
And more.
Tony Bennett from Virginia. He's a great guy. I was at Virginia for 5 years. He's unbelievable. For him to retire at 55?
Yeah.
You kidding me? I might be right behind him, though. I'm not going to lie to you.
Do you think the NCAA will make change? Like, have you heard there's changes on the way, or are they really just wiping their hands?
Changes that's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
I don't foresee it getting any better anywhere in the near future. How we're going to sustain it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard of any changes of us going back to the old way.
Wow. What's something that you're really excited about this year for this team that just like you're pumped about?
I think it's my post play. I think we have one of the best post group in the league.
Wow.
It's just getting them to believe that and to perform like that on a daily basis. Maya Joyner, local, kind of like you were, hometown girl. And I know Holton, you can speak to this. Sometimes it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot.
I think she went through that last year as a sophomore, just, was freshman of the year, her rookie year. And then last year, the expectations, what everybody is expecting and what you want. And I think that can weigh a lot on you.
Yeah.
You know, you're 15 minutes away. Everybody's coming to watch you, you know, but I'm looking forward to her having a really good year this year, understanding, you know, I just wanted to go play and have fun and not worry about what everybody's thinking and what they're expecting of you. So I'm looking for a big year from her. My twins, you know, they're seniors and expecting a good year out of them. And so we got size, we got athleticism at that spot. You know, I'm looking forward to them playing together and causing a lot of havoc.
Yeah, and you got a lot of experience, it sounds like, coming back as well.
We do, you know, we do have a lot of experience. But what I would say is out of that experience, only one of them have had a major role, and that is Amaya Jordan.
Yeah.
The rest of them have kind of been role players.
Yeah.
You know, so Danae McNeill has been my star the last 2 years, and, you know, we lost her to graduation. So now it's like, who's going to step up and take on those scoring roles? And so we're still trying to figure out, you know, where's this scoring going to come from, how we're going to score. You know, I've always been the type of coach where I want to look down on that stat sheet and see multiple kids in double figures. And I think in order for us to win this year, that's what it's got to look like. Like if I'm looking down at the stat sheet and I see one kid with 20 and the next kid with 7 or 8, we may not win a lot of games. But if I can see, you know, 14, 16, 10, 11, 9, you know, a lot of different kids contributing in a lot of different ways, that's how we're going to be successful.
And you were talking about Maya and like being from here. Dixon Williams, obviously the baseball player here, he's from Greenville too. And I told him, because we had him on before, and I was like, dude, you don't realize it's all sunset, shining rainbows until you get here, of like how hard and how much pressure there actually is of like people around the community of being from here and playing here. And there's some people that have came here and done really well, and there's some people who've came here and crumbled, because it takes a special person to even understand it and to be able to like go through it and stick with it too. So, I mean, it's tough. I remember when she committed, that was a big deal.
That was huge.
Talk about her recruitment, because that was probably one of the bigger, recruits that ECU women's basketball has ever gotten.
It is. You know, it was a journey, to say the least. You know, when she first narrowed her list down her junior year, ECU wasn't on it.
Dang.
Yeah, and I made a lot of phone calls, and I made sure I let a lot of people know I wasn't happy with it. I'm like, you don't let a kid like that cut her home school. You know, a good school. You know, it's not like we were D3 or D2.
Yeah.
You know, you always keep that home school on it, because you never know what's going to happen with these other schools. You know, and so I just stayed in there and kind of played the role, you know, from behind the scenes, and, you know, just hung in there. And the last year of her AAU season, like, I just showed up for every single game, regardless. And, you know, some things happened, and I was, you know, we hung in there, and, you know, and got her here on a visit, and she realized, like, I need to stay home. I need the family environment. I need a coach that's going to be patient with me, help me grow as a young woman, and we ended up winning out.
I bet that was electric when you found that out.
It was huge. So 2 years. So she was top 100, top 70, top 60 kid in the country, and then the next year we signed another top 100 kid in the country. So that's pretty big for ECU women's basketball to back-to-back years, you know, sign a top 100 kid in the country.
100%. So obviously you guys are growing in the community. Like I said, you're in the community. People know your name, and, you know, are starting to kind of buy into this. The year's about to start. You know, this podcast will drop, I think, the day y'all play Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
So the podcast drops on Thursday, so it'll be after the first game. But like, just to Pirate Nation, like, what would be your pitch to them to come and see you guys play this year?
Yeah, I've been saying this ever since I've been here. Like, East Carolina athletics, it should be like the focal point in this community.
Yep.
Like, there's no reason why, you know, men's basketball can't pack it out, while we can't average 2,000 to 3,000 people a night. Volleyball, so, I mean, we're in a college town. You know, there's no professional sports.
Yeah.
We are the professional sports, you know? So I just want to see Pirate Nation get behind us a little bit more. You know, we're going to be an exciting brand of basketball. We're going to play hard every time we step out on the floor. You know, we are a defensive mind. You're going to see us diving on the floor. Like, we have the mindset, we're not going to quit. We're not going to give up. And, you know, you're looking at a team that has been to back-to-back championship games. You know, get behind us. You know, when Minji's is loud, like, it's definitely a home court advantage. Teams don't like to travel here. You know, when I talk to teams in our league, they hate coming to Greenville because it's so hard to get here. So imagine them traveling, and then we can get 2,000 or 3,000 people, screaming people in there yelling. It would definitely be an advantage for us.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's a good call out. I always forget, because we had the luxury of flying out of PGV, that all of these other sports, a lot of them have to go to like the main airport, fly commercial, then come all the way down 264. So that is a huge, people are tired after a long travel.
They are.
And then having to experience a fan base that is rowdy, loud. I mean, that's such an advantage that I think I even overlooked myself for you guys and for even other sports like men's basketball. I don't know if men's basketball has the same travel, but that's huge advantage you guys have over on home games.
We have to be different.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're the only school in our league that's a college town.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in a major
Big
city.
cities.
So how can we be different to make recruits want to come here? We're different because we have the support from our community, from Pirate Nation, packing the stands, you know, helping our athletes out, you know, life after basketball, even while they're here with NIL. We have to find a way to be different.
Yeah, you mentioned, you know, local talent and, you know, building culture around, you know, high schoolers from North Carolina. Are there any high schoolers in North Carolina or Eastern North Carolina that you're,
You
you
can't
know,
talk about them.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
I
can't?
can't.
Oh,
No.
let's cut that. Cut that.
I
That-
can't.
well, okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
Bring up
illegal.
high schooler names.
I
man.
know. All right, cut. Sorry, we'll cut that one. That's my fault. I didn't know that.
No, yeah, we covered everything. Kaden, you got anything else?
Here, last one. We'll have to cut that, Josh. Season's coming up. You know, we talked about, you know, the team. What, and I know as a coach, it's hard for you to say this. Is there a game that sticks out to you as like a rubber match from last year or a big time game that sticks out to you outside of each game's the next game?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure my players would say the same thing. Rice.
Rice.
You know, that's who we lost to in the
Yeah.
championship game. They had our number last year. We went 0-3. You know, so that's definitely a game we've got circled, you know, on our calendars. But, you know, with this team, we just got to take one game at a time. Just try to get better every single. I think this is going to be a team that you're going to see is going to start figuring themselves out come December. You know, we may struggle a little bit earlier in the season because we just got so many new pieces. You know, a young point guard, new point guards, which, like I said to you earlier, you know, point guard play is just like having a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, so I think this is a team that's going to get better, you know, as the season goes.
That's awesome. I'm excited to watch you guys in South Carolina.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, it's going to be, what, 15, 16,000 people,
Yeah, it's
however
sick.
many that place holds. You know, they sell it out every single game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you come to college to
Yeah.
play in front of thousands and
Heck
thousands of
yeah.
people, to have the opportunity to play against the best players in the country, you know. So I love looking down there and seeing that I'm coaching against one of the best in the
Yeah.
country, you know. So I'm excited about that too.
That's awesome.
For sure. Well, good luck this year. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you know what you're doing for not only women's basketball but for the community too. It's awesome to have
Appreciate
a
it.
face. so.
My kids wouldn't have it any other way. They love Greenville, Greenville Little League, Greenville volleyball. We do it all. So
I love it.
That's awesome.
Well,
Such a
good
great
luck
town.
this year. Yeah.
thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Anson Belts. Over 10,000 combinations of micro-adjustable holeless belts. They got the Jolly Roger. They also got the Buffalo Skin that's out now. Okay, we're a big fan of Anson Belt.
Hey, Halloween just ended. Guess what's coming up? The holidays. You want to get your shopping done early. You like the new variety of belts that's coming out. You might have a loved one in your life that loves Anson Belts. Go to AnsonBelt.com and get that shopping done early.
Appreciate them for supporting the pod. Next, Clean Eats. Most of their meals are under $8. They got frozen, pre-made, made-to-order smoothies. We love Clean Eats around here. Kate, what are you excited about?
It's tasty. You can pick it up and you can throw it away. So simple, so easy. And after the holidays, New Year's resolution, it'll be here before you know it. Get your Clean Eats done and get it in.
Yes, sir. Next, want to give a shout out to Kyra's Float and Wellness Studio. They got float tank, infrared sauna, cold tub, salt and halo therapy. Literally everything you need for your body to be feeling amazing. I've been doing it recently. It is the real deal. I mean, the floating is legit. I'm just telling you, I go zero darkness, zero gravity, or zero light, total darkness. There's nothing like it. Feels like you slept for 24 hours. Rumor is, I was read an article the other day about it when I was looking it up, that Lincoln Riley does that because he only sleeps like 4 hours a night because he's a coach, that he does this instead to replace his sleep. So that's a big deal. Go to Kyra's Float and Wellness Studio, KyrasFloats.com. Appreciate them for supporting the pod. Caden, what an interview.
Yeah.
I was actually very impressed. And like, look, I don't know that much about women's basketball other than like the stuff we talked about with Caitlin Clark and stuff like that. And there's definitely been, you know, a lot evolving in that sport. But like, I know a lot of Kim McNeill, just seeing her in the community, seeing her on social media. Like, she's done a really good job of being in the community, which we said is like a very underrated trait of an ECU head coach, a successful one. So I was very impressed.
No, I agree. And like, she's a successful head coach. We all know Cliff Godwin. You know, football has had the struggles. Basketball has have our struggles. But like, I think it's big to recognize successful coaches on the women and the men's front. And, you know, she's someone that's won the back-to-back championship games. They've made a tournament in the last 2 years. They have a really good team, it sounds like, coming back. You know, a little bit of experience, a little bit of newbies. And like you said, women's basketball is more popular than it's ever been. I mean, you have Dave Portnoy tweeting about it. You have the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark rivalry, and you have a lot of other legends. So I think it was a really cool time to bring her in. And I'm one that, I'll be honest with you, and I told Coach McNeill this, I didn't care anything about women's basketball more than 2 years ago. And that's not me saying that negatively. I just didn't. And over the last 2 years, I've became more of a fan, and seeing ECU success makes me want to follow it just a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk some football now. We obviously, this release is on Thursday. We got a Thursday night game. FAU comes in here. Tom Herman's a little salty, evidently. Did you see that?
That was hilarious. He forgot that he did an onside kick the year before.
40 the year before, yeah.
I actually liked South Florida's coach doing that.
I did too. I love the pettiness of football, and I'm a big fan of that because, look, if someone runs up the score on you, then remember it. And not really run up the score, but onside kick, that's a little bit too much to me, and I don't like that. But I've always been a fan of, like, I remember when Coach Houston got angry at Coach Fickle when we lost to Cincinnati, hit Coach Houston's first year here, and Pat McAfee was like, that's the softest coach in the country, which is, like, not Coach Houston at all. But they did run a fake punt. But then, like, see, that's disrespectful. But as much as, like, just getting blown out and, like, running up the score, it's like, stop them. That's always been. Even when I'm on the bad side of it, it's like, okay, if we can't stop them, we're just not that good. We literally just got destroyed.
Yeah, just stop them. We're digressing a little bit, but one pettiness that we never got revenge on was NC State's center sneak. We'll hopefully get that next year. But talking about this Thursday, it's a national televised game at 8 p.m. This is huge for ECU. 4-4, like we mentioned. This game reminds me a lot of a Charlotte Temple hybrid mix of skill level. Charlotte's not that good of a program this year. Temple's not that good of a program this year. We played both, and we had polar opposite games.
Yeah.
And so after that Temple game, I think the team, I assume, it looked like they had a lot of fun, hopefully built a lot of confidence, and you have a national televised 8 p.m. game. You're the only game on, I think, at 8 p.m. on Thursday night. I could be wrong. I think there might be one more, but I think they're the only one. That's fired up. I mean, you played in a couple of those.
Yeah.
I signaled in a couple of those. Where do you think the team's at this week?
I think the team's ready to go, and, like, my hope is that the fans show up. The last thing you ever want to do for a recruiting standpoint, for everything we were just talking about with transfer portal and all that, is for recruits and fans across the country to turn on the TV and see an empty stadium on a Thursday night. Because I'm going to tell you, and I'm this is my challenge, is show up and cheer. We actually have a chance to make a bowl game this year. We have a decent team that can be competitive, that's favored in a primetime matchup. Mm-hmm. Primetime game. I don't know about matchup, but let's go out there and just have fun. Enjoy winning, hopefully, in a stadium when the lights are on you. It's a Thursday night game. You get off work, you go to it. And then another thing I want to say is some of these transfers know they're transferring, but they don't know where they're transferring. I'm talking about the people who we are going to attempt to recruit in December. They're going to turn on that game. I mean, all college football players watch the Thursday night games and Friday night games because that's what you do when you travel. So some of these players are going to remember, I remember seeing ECU. Oh, that stadium was packed and that stadium was electric. Those fans are going crazy and they were only 4-4. Or it's going to be like, well, they were 4-4 and there was no one in the stands. Why would I go there? And you know what I mean? So this is a huge spotlight for us to be in.
Yeah, I'm going to hate to disagree with you here. I don't know how well we're going to pack the stadium out. You got to remember it is a Thursday night. A lot of people have kids. It's hard to go to an 8 p.m. game on a Thursday night. So I am expecting a lighter turnout. I hope you prove me wrong. And I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
I'm not saying I know it's going to be. I'm just saying, like, for ECU's sake, I really hope that we do pack it out. And I understand, like, look, I don't got kids right now. I don't know. It's even hard for me, and I'll work the next day, like, for me to stay or whatever. But, like, I just hope that, if we're serious about this, and I know how passionate ECU fans are, that we go show how passionate we were. Because that's a huge selling point of ECU. That's probably the reason I came here.
Yeah, the fan base.
The fan base of what it could be and the possibility of what it could be. Like, this season isn't a wash yet. Let's go show up and at least, if you can possibly make it. We're going to be here till 5 a.m. for fifth quarter college.
It's going to be a long week for me. But what I'm excited to watch is JDB. Can he put together a back-to-back week finally? Because this whole entire year, our offense, there's no consistency. 2 weeks ago, last game, I think everyone was excited. That was fun to watch. It kind of reminded me of the Norfolk State game. Well, we expected Norfolk State. We were going to go in there and walk over them. But to actually do it against D1 talent, I know it's Temple, but it was exciting. I think the fans were pissed we didn't put 70 on the board. But it's another opportunity. We should do this. Caiden Hauser, I thought he looked good against Army. Even though we had those drops and Army really controlled the game. The second half, he looked really good. I thought he looked really good last week. Those interceptions, I don't think any of them were his fault. If he can come back, like, we have a real opportunity here. I really think, I've watched a couple FAU games. They don't really impress me too much on the offense or the defense. It reminds me of a lot of a Temple. So it comes out. Can we be consistent again?
Well, this for the rest of the year, we got to realize that, with a new head coach probably coming in, unless Coach Harrell runs the table, which I really hope he does, is these coaches are also showing what they can do. Not only the players, but the coaches. Like JDB saying, well, look, I'm a bright offensive coordinator. I'm young. I'm innovative. Someone come and hire me if I'm not going to be here next year. So, he's laying everything on the table for him, too. I'm really excited about, is Caiden Hauser the guy? Can he consistently do it week after week after week? Because if so, then we got a quarterback of the future, which has been a long time since we've had that.
Yeah, that'd be huge. And I'm high on him right now. And I was high on Jake Garcia earlier this year, and we were kind of wrong because stuff kind of fell out. I'll be honest, we were kind of wrong. He looked good, he didn't look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm high on Caiden Hauser right now, and I'm hoping I continue to be high on him because he was fun to watch the last 2 weeks. But great call out right there. The coaches are they're playing for something, because even if you do win out, I mean, there's a decent probability you might not even get retained, especially if let's say Harrell runs out, right? Is he retaining everyone? I don't know. You can't bet your money on that. I mean, it's a bet. So you got to play hard as well. And then if they do win out, I even think there's a probability they could not get retained, because kind of what we talked about. We might have talked about it last week, or the week before, is NIL. It's all about excitement. It's all about building excitement. Does Blake Harrell? I know, does 9-4 bringing the excitement?
Better.
Does it?
9-4 or
8-4? My fault. Regular season be 8-4.
Yeah, that should bring excitement.
I know, but I'm just saying, does people want change that bad that they're not going to take 8-4?
If you go 8-4, you got to keep Blake Harrell. We'll see.
Well,
I hope we have the option of seeing it. I hope so.
It is truly what the coaches say week by week right now.
Yeah,
and I think that's exciting. If
the donors say, you mean?
Well, coaches say that.
Coaches
say don't look out. Take each week by week. And I kind of like that. I don't like that for that, because I would hate to be in that situation. But it's a fun situation to watch each week, because I'm cheering for him myself.
We'll see. This podcast is brought to you by Worth Chiropractic. 2 convenient locations on Arlington Boulevard. 1-800-BACK-DOC. Look, if you're an everyday, standard American, the best country in the world, and you got back pain or neck pain, 1-800-BACK-DOC. If you're a former athlete or a current athlete, back and neck pain, 1-800-BACK-DOC. Make sure you give them a call. Dr. Work and his team will get you back to being you. Next, I want to give a shout out to Wayne Hardy Law, personal injury lawyer. If you've been in a car accident and you need a lawyer, he's the one to call. 1-800-INJURED. They'll treat you like family. That is the Wayne Hardy difference. Last but not least, our friends over at Mattamuskeet Goose Club. They got country, classy, wallets, keychains, belts, everything in between. Make sure you go check out Mattamuskeet Goose Club. Thank you for supporting the pod.
And welcome back to this week's fan segment of the week. Some weeks you get on the Holton Naylor Show for choosing the right score of the game. Sometimes you're randomly chosen, and sometimes you know the right people. One of our best friends, Josh Deese. What's up, Josh?
What's up, Caiden? How are you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Fun fact, Josh lived with us, me, Holton, in college. You're also Holton's neighbor, your entire life?
Yeah, that's how me and Holton got close together. Been best friends with Holton since we were like little munchkins running around.
What's the craziest Holton kid story?
Dude, one that comes to mind is we played each other in T-ball, and I was the pitcher, and he was hitting. I took a rocket off the chest. Didn't cry, didn't anything. Took it like a man, and got that out.
So Holton hit a line drive right at your chest.
Yeah.
You caught it?
I dropped it, but I threw him out at first.
Okay, I was about to say, dang, that's a pretty rock hard hit to catch right there. That's awesome. So you lived with us in college. You were the only person that lived with us that didn't play football.
A NARP, man. That's what they called me.
What was your favorite memory living with football players back then?
Probably intramural softball, man. We took that thing way too seriously. But that was probably one of the funnest times looking back at it.
Were you the only non-football player in that team?
No, it was co-ed, so we had the girls too.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into the ECU side of it. We come in here and we like to each week learn about each person's unique Pirate story. How did you become a Pirate fan? Were you born into, or what's your background love in ECU?
Both of my parents went to ECU, so I guess you could say I was born a Pirate.
Mm-hmm.
My first ECU game was probably 2007. The first ECU game I remember, Ben Hartman kicked a game winner against Carolina way past my bedtime. I remember where I was sitting in the stands when it happened.
Where you at?
50-yard line, visitors side. Couldn't tell you the section, but just remember right up kind of at the very top. And it was just a great first game that has always kind of stuck with me.
Dang, that's a pretty good story right there. Is that your favorite all-time memory?
No. There's two that comes to mind, probably 2008. I got to go to Charlotte with my granddad for the first game of the year and watch Virginia Tech lose to ECU with the block punt.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next week, I think it was the next week, I think it was the same year, when we upset West Virginia at home in Dowdy Ficklin, got to rush the field, and that was just a crazy experience, seeing everyone rush the field and everything.
Jeez, you have way better Pirate experiences than I do. I've had some negative ones, but we both love the Pirates. What's your thoughts on this year's season?
Everyone's kind of counted as a wash already, and I think, you got 3-4 games left and can run the table and everything, so I think Blake Carroll's got him in a good spot, and we'll see what happens.
Wins out. Are you Blake Carroll if Blake wins out?
Oh, 100%.
Let's say they lose a couple games. What coach excites you for next year?
John Gruden.
John Gruden?
I think we throw him back in the saddle and see what he can do with the program.
Didn't he get fired for some really controversial
Allegedly.
issues? Allegedly. Okay. I'll take the allegedly. And last but not least, what makes ECU so unique in your opinion?
It's a special place, man. It's a sweet college town, but just the people in Greenville make it what it is.
No, I agree 100% with you. This is a really special place, and the passion each person brings to East Carolina is second to none. That's this week's fan segment. If you want to join the fan segment, come in the studio with me at Holton and be a part of the next show. Look for the Holton Naylor Show post on X each week for your opportunity. That's this week's episode. Join us next week.